G'day, legends. Welcome back to the Rugby League Guru podcast. We have got something very special today. Obviously, we've got Magic Round coming this week, which is super exciting, but we have also got the Women's State of Origin on Thursday night coming to you from Suncorp. Myself and Kathmandu will be there cheering on the mighty New South Wales Blues. And I always say to you guys, when it comes to things like Super League, for example, I say I don't cover it because I don't have the time to put into it to do it properly. Similar to the women's game as well. I've actually been sort of on the hunt for someone to come in and maybe help me out with this sort of stuff. And I thought for the Women's State of Origin game, why not go out and get the very, very best in the business. Her Instagram page is Watch Her Footy. You can go and check that out there. Covering it better than anyone else is right now. Welcome in.
What an introduction. I can't believe that. But yes, thank you so much for having me.
It has always been a big thing for me that I never want to cover anything half-ass. So if I can find someone that does it properly like yourself. We had the short ball in the other day to do the juniors and he just does a tremendous job. And I just think what you're doing in the NRLW space and from people I talk to in the NRLW space as well, I know Sowie's a huge fan of yours. You're just doing fantastic things and I absolutely love to see it and I'm stoked to have you here in the CBA Centre of Excellence.
Thank you so much.
Super really exciting. Now you'll be at the Women's Origin next week?
Yes, I will be. Game 1 at, like you said, Suncorp. I'll be there.
I think they'll be rolling out the red carpet for you just quietly.
Oh, well, I hope.
Are you going to be doing any media or any extra stuff for that game?
No. Oh, actually, I might be in the corporate box, but we don't know.
Stop it.
We don't know for sure just yet, so a little gossip there. But hopefully that'll be exciting.
Unreal.
And then you guys are coming down as well, so we might catch up beforehand and do some stuff.
We were just at New South Wales Rugby League HQ and we saw the girls training there. They look ready to rip in.
Considering their season hasn't started yet, they are in fine form. They look really fit.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the first thing I wanted to bring up with you, going off script from the very start that we didn't plan on doing. But I didn't realise this until a few months ago. I was in Vegas and Jess Surges was there and I was talking to her about it and I didn't even piece this together originally that, of course, the Queensland girls have been playing their competition up there for what feels like the last few months or weeks, whatever it might be. And the New South Wales girls haven't played in quite some time. I mean, I guess it is what it is, but I guess it's the first, probably the only negative we're going to find here, but that probably needs to be sorted out, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, that's been a big controversial topic because the HNWP, you know, some people are for it becoming a reserve grade because that was the New South Wales competition.
Yep.
And then you're talking about the BMD, which some New South Wales players have left to go and play in that competition so that they can have game preparation. But on the other side of that, New South Wales have gone and entered into a 6-week Origin camp to feel prepared for this game. So I don't know, it's like a bit up and down. It's either, you know, you feel game prepared through BMD and you leave your state obviously to be in that competition or you're doing that 6-week Origin camp. And
the 6-week Origin camp is a fantastic way to go about it, I guess, but you just can't simulate games. Yeah,
it'll be very interesting to see how they go in game 1.
It's just tough because obviously, you know, we're trying to promote the game and whatnot, and Origin is meant to be the absolute pinnacle of that. And you've got half the girls coming in without. And I've heard some of the girls actually talk about this as an issue as well, that they're like, we're not able to put forward our very best display of the game. So that is disappointing. But outside of that, I mean, you know, for how far the women's game has come over the last few years, to have it on Magic Round on the Thursday night. Like I know personally I'm excited about it. Me and Kat are stoked to be going.
Super.
A lot of people I've spoken to on Magic Round, you know, a lot of people are saying to me, I'm going to be there on Thursday, not on Friday. So it is super, super exciting. And I really didn't want to start off on a negative, but I think that is something that we needed to address.
Definitely.
For sure. Yeah. Talk to us about the history of the Women's Origin and just the game in general. You're the expert. Talk to us.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm assuming that maybe most of your followers don't really watch the NRLW or haven't really gotten the chance to watch an Origin game for the women just yet. So for some history, it actually started back in 1999 and it was the Women's Interstate Challenge. Then in 2018, it became State of Origin. And then Queensland, in its inception in 1999, they won for 16 years in a row. Then there was a tie and then New South Wales won 4 years in a row. since it's become State of Origin, Queensland and New South Wales have both won 3 series each, so it's been pretty level-headed. It'll be very interesting to see this first 3-game series and how it pans out.
16 years in a row is wild. I had to live through 8 in a row, and that was torture.
Yeah.
16, miss me with that. Now, obviously, with the game, there are some slightly different rules from the NRLW that if some of the fans watching on Thursday night might not be aware of, the slight differences. What are they?
Yeah, so for the women, there's a 40-30 and 20-50. There's no 6 agains. It's 70-minute halves. 70-minute game, 35-minute halves. And I guess for a bit of insight, it's going to be like there's not much wrestle in the ruck, so it's going to be probably a faster ball game for the women as well.
Love that. I'll tell you what, one thing that has really stood out for me from watching NRLW when it first burst on the scene to now, you mentioned the 40-30s there. The kicking games have improved out of sight. I remember when I first saw NRLW watching last tackles, and they were just absolute shambles. Balls might go 15, 20 metres. Some of the girls and the way they strike the balls now is incredible. And the goal kicking as well.
100%, yeah.
Back in the early days, it has just improved out of sight. I know someone we mentioned earlier, Jamie Soward, he's put a big emphasis on his girls and their kicking games. And it's just one aspect that for me has just jumped out of the ground.
Yep, I agree.
And for people sitting at home, they see 40-20s on TV and whatnot and think it's easy. Take a ball down to a park and do yourself a favour. Try and hit a 40-30. They are so hard to hit, and that's with no pressure, no fatigue, nothing. Yeah. Girls do an incredible job. Now let's get into the team list. The New South Wales side, in typical State of Origin fashion, I'm going to have a little crack at you here. The New South Wales side has done the right thing by the people. Named there 1 to 17. Queenslanders, alphabetical order, doing no one any favours because we get Origin down here.
Yeah.
It's going to be the last stab I probably get in before Origin before it all turns to doom and gloom. Talking about the New South Wales side, what stood out to you?
Well, look, there's standouts, there's controversy. This team list has caused a ruckus on my page, and there's a lot to say. So I'll go through it and make it as easy to understand as possible as to why this is so controversial. So I guess for fullback, New South Wales, I'm Queenslander.
Was that a we? I love that. I absolutely love that.
And I got that in 4K as well.
Beautiful. Continue.
They have Emma Tonegata at fullback, which that's where she played last year. I personally would have had her in the halves. That's where she plays for Sharks. But that's okay. Jamie Chapman for the wing. That's who I would have had it as fullback as well. With her, she's got Tiana Penatani on the other side, which is a great selection. Isabel Kelly, Jess Surgis for the centres, which is,
Are these two, like just about every rep team I've ever seen in the NRLW, it's these two in the centres.
Paired.
It's one hell of a combo.
Yes, exactly. There's no need to change that because they get the work done every single time. So I'm happy. Well, I'm not happy with that selection because it's for New South Wales, but great choices there. And then for the halves, this is where it's probably got the most, concern from fans. We've got Corbin Baxter and Rachel Pearson. So personally, I would have had Emma Tonegata there with Jessie Southwell, but they've gone with Corbin Baxter and Rachel Pearson, which they are great at what they do, but Corbin Baxter is notorious for playing fullback for Roosters.
I saw a lot of comments that Southwell is one of the best in the game in that position at the moment too. So there was a bit of controversy as to why she wasn't picked.
I assume she was injured if she wasn't picked. She's available?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Why do you think she wasn't picked?
Wow.
Look, we look at game 1 last year, and for game 1 it was Who was game 1 again?
Game 1 was Jessie 6, Rachel Pearson 7.
Sorry.
We're in front of a live audience today too.
Sorry. Yeah.
In true guru style, I like that.
Sorry. Yeah. So for game 1, it was Rachel Pearson and Jessie Southwell. Rachel Pearson actually got dropped after that game. And then they brought in Talia Foyamaono and then moved Jessie Southwell to halfback. So and then they won that game. So it was really interesting. You know, Jessie Southwell has been an outstanding half.
Yeah.
So for her not to be selected has definitely caused a lot of controversy because she has performed so well.
I remember like when I first started watching NRLW, and Brigginshaw used to just wow me.
Yeah.
She's obviously gone on to have an incredible career, but she was the first NRLW player that I just sat back and went, oh my God, there's just something about her. Southwell reminds me a lot of her, the way that she plays, and that's I genuinely just assumed, she must be injured or unavailable. That's wild. Talk to me about the forward pack. First time I've seen the name Millie Elliott actually written down. That took me by surprise.
I
yes.
know. It's obviously being Millie Boyle before, but now Millie Elliott. Standard choice. She's obviously great at what she does, so there's no comments there. Caitlin Johnson as well in the props. For the hooker, we've actually got Liv Higgins, who is debuting, and I'm so excited to see her there. She has been so underrated. She's won 3 premierships, the first one with the Roosters and then the last 2 with the Knights in a row she's won. She just gets her work done. She's always, a part of the game, and she just extraordinary. So to see her there finally for the New South Wales team is amazing. She just can prove that she can do it. And then for second rows, we've got Yasmin Clydesdale and Kezzy Apps, and they're just 2 of the best second rowers in the game. So that's, normal. For the lock position, this is probably the other controversial one. There's Keely Davis. Now, she's a great player, don't get me wrong, but she's a smaller body, so I guess they're missing that opportunity to have someone like Samaima Taufa, Kennedy Charrington, Sarah Tokatuki there. So it'll be interesting to see how she goes. And she plays hooker usually at the Roosters, so we'll see.
Yeah, wow, there's some big names that are missing there, isn't there?
Yeah, and that's probably why a lot of New South Wales fans, and even Queensland fans are like, what's going on here?
Wow.
So
okay.
Kennedy Charrington being out is a big one.
Yeah, I saw so many comments about that. I think it's not even about the game itself, it's what these personalities bring more holistically as well. And I think it's fair to say that even if you only know the slightest information about NRLW, you probably know who Kennedy Charrington is. I think she's done a lot to build the game. And she's been a face of that Blues side. So it's an interesting choice, that's for sure.
Very interesting. Take us to the bench. Who have we got there?
So for the bench, at number 14, we've got Talia Fuimarino, which I think is a great selection. She's such a versatile player. We'll see her in the halves. We'll see her hooker. So I think that's a great option. She's not just a hooker replacement. And then but there's some interesting actual information about her. This is her first game back since the 2023 season. So she actually went down with an injury for the first game in 2023, missed that whole season, and this is her first game playing back. So
so she missed the entirety of last season, essentially.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's a really interesting choice.
So that's over 12 months of not playing.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yikes.
exactly. So, exactly. It's definitely a big call. For 15, 16, 17, we've got Kernick Kemp, who is also debuting, and I'm very excited to see her play, and Sarah Tokatuki.
Now, is Kemp from the Raiders?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
And
I was actually, I was there the night in Canberra. I just happened to be at that game where they presented the Canberra Raiders girls side out on the field. I remember I spoke to some of the coaches after, and they spoke very, very highly of Grace Kemp.
Yes.
Very
She's
highly
a
of her.
big body. I think she might be like the second tallest in the game.
Yeah, wow.
Do you know how tall she is?
6'1".
Wow.
Yeah, she's huge.
Good to see a decent Kemp in rugby league too. Shout out to Denon.
Of Den and Kemp variety? Are they related?
I don't believe they are.
Am I making assumptions that people with the same name must be related?
You may have.
That's huge from me.
Yeah, very big from you.
With the most common Arabic name in the world.
I wasn't going to say it.
Yeah.
I'm glad you did.
Anyway.
Man, the Southwell thing has really rattled me.
Yeah, it's big. It's rattling everyone.
Would you, with Southwell, would you say she can play halfback or 5'8"?
Yeah, definitely. She could be.
Because she's essentially missed out on halfback 5'8" and realistically the 14 jersey too, right?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Any comments
But you could
from
do
her?
worse than having her in the 14, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
There's I haven't been able
No
to
comments.
get in contact
And
with her
that,
or see anything.
yeah, it's so interesting that they have omitted her.
Yeah. And Caitlin Johnson as well, just before we move on, she's gone from Newcastle to Cronulla, is that right?
Yes. She's playing with Knights this season, but with Sharks next season.
That's going to be one hell of a signing. She's a good player.
Yeah.
Very good player.
Her and Ellie Johnson for the Sharks will be very powerful.
All right. Here we go. Alphabetical order. Making life hard for us as per usual. Queensland, take us away.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to go through the squad, but I'm going to go through the predicted because I think that they'll keep it pretty much the same. They got the job done last year, and I think there's not going to be many different changes. I could be wrong, but for what I'm predicting, and there's not much to say about this team either. Obviously, at fullback, we've got Tamika Upton, which is pretty straightforward. Just gets the job done. She's amazing. For the wings, Julia Robinson and M. Bass. For the centres, Shanae Sazolka, Vania Polite. For the halves, we've got Taryn Aiken and Zahara Temura, which they are amazing. And then for our props, we've got Jess Elliston and Shannon Marto, who are arguably probably, well, in 2023, the best props that there were. They were the Titans props, and they just get the job done every time. So I'm excited to see how they go. For hooker, we've got Broncos hooker Destiny Brill. And for our second row, Romy Teitzel, Tasman Gray. And at lock, we've got Ali Brigginshaw. So very powerful.
I call her Brigand Goat. So I think she's just the best ever.
Yeah.
I love the move of Brigginshaw to the lock forward role over the last few years. I think it's a real sign of the times with where the NRLW is getting to as well, that you can afford to play a player like her, who I personally think is the best. From what I've seen, she's the best NRLW ball player I've ever seen.
Yeah.
To play her at 13, to be able to get other ball players in there, it just adds a new dimension
100%.
to it.
Yeah, I think that it's so good to have three strong heads on the field, three halves that can control the game. So,
and I saw she got into a little brouhaha the other day.
Yeah,
I would not mess with Brigginshaw. No, thank you.
No.
Couldn't believe that.
Yeah.
Now, have you got a bench there? What do you think it'll look like?
Do. Look, the 14 probably will cause the most controversy. I've got Lauren Brown there, but it could easily have been, or it could easily be Emma Manzelman from the Cowboys. I'm choosing Lauren Brown for the same reason Talia Fuemaono got chosen. Lauren Brown's just such a versatile player.
Yep.
That's what you're seeing in the men's as well, is versatility over that hooker replacement. So Lauren Brown for 14. And then we've got Sophie Hollyman, Keely Joseph, and Mackenzie Will from the Cowboys.
Now, from this side, obviously there are a number of absolute superstars, Aiken, Brigginshaw, Upton, obviously. I got to ask you, probably my all-time favourite NRLW player for a long time has been Chelsea Lenarduzzi. I absolutely love everything about Chelsea. I ran into her in Vegas. She was having a great time. Is she injured, unavailable, or just not picked?
That's a great question, and I actually don't know the answer. I just don't think she was picked this time around.
Wow.
Yeah.
I reckon she's been such a good player for so long, Chelsea.
Has.
Yeah, a
And
very
she's
good
been
person
amazing
too. I love her.
Yeah, she's been great in BMD as well. So
Tamika Upton, though, she is the talking point for me. And if she's the best player on the ground, I don't think New South Wales stand a chance. She's that good.
yeah, she is incredible, and I think that her knowledge and her experience and how amazing she can be on the field will definitely help Queensland win.
I love this Taryn Aiken too. I've said a few times, she's the Munster of the NRLW for me. She can just break it open at any given moment.
Yeah.
And to think that they can afford to play Brigginshaw at 13 it frightens me.
Right?
Scares me so much. Very, very good squad there. Strengths and weaknesses. How do you see it playing out?
Look, I guess we'll start with the weaknesses. For New South Wales, there's a couple players playing out of position. Obviously, Emma Tonegata playing at fullback, but that was normal last year. But she obviously plays for half in the halves.
Yep.
And then we've got Corbin Baxter and Keely Davis out of position. So that's quite interesting to see how that'll all go. I guess for the other weaknesses, missing Jessie Southwell, which is huge as well.
We don't need self-inflicted weaknesses. But anyway.
And then, as I mentioned before, just having one less big body on the field, with Keely Davis being that lock role. But I guess we match it with the Queensland, with Ali Brigginshaw being that lock. So I'm thinking that there's some sort of strategy there with those two kind of players being in those roles.
Yep.
But then I guess the game plan for Queensland could just be to send our forwards at Corbin Baxter. So we'll see how that goes. For the weaknesses, I actually wrote down Queensland. And this is not just me being biased. I couldn't come up with anything.
Oh, please. What is going on here?
I actually really struggled. I think that they're just going with the same game mentality that they had last year for game one, and that's what got the job done. There's not going to be many different changes. They just know what they're doing.
It for me, like if I had to write down, in my opinion, like the 10 best players in NRLW, I reckon Queensland would have 4 of the top 6 or so for me, just from what I've seen. You'd obviously know a lot more than me, but all the girls I mentioned before, like Upton, Brigginshaw, Aiken, they just look like out and out superstars to me. And from the little I saw last year, watching that Titans pack last year, what do they call themselves? The Junkyard Dogs, I think it was. I was at a grand final luncheon, and some of the Titans girls were there, and the coach got up and spoke, and they kept on referring to their forward pack as the Junkyard Dogs. And every time they did it, the girls would start like barking. It was unreal.
Sounds like you were let in on a little team secret there, because that is not public knowledge.
I assume from that it was like a common knowledge sort of thing. That's interesting. But
not
but you
the
could just
barking, really? The barking?
Yeah, it was a bit like, that guy, they came bounding down and then he starts barking.
Who let
It was
the
a bit like that. It was
dogs
great,
out?
but the girls all got around it.
Yeah.
And they obviously had an
so
incredible season. Yeah, I love that the girls called themselves that just to buy into we're just dogs going at it. Love that. Where's this one going to be won and lost?
Look, last year, I guess it was shown a lot that there was a combined number of 30 errors for New South Wales and Queensland. So I think the game will just be won by who holds the ball. Yeah. And that's what's going to make the biggest difference.
Now, from a betting side of things, what are you sort of looking at? I know Origin tends to be tight games. Yeah. I think we're due for reasonably good weather up there in Brisbane, Vegas next week. Hopefully. Yeah. I really hope so for the sake of this game.
Because it's also just cold up here. I need a break.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Did I say up here? I meant down here. Whatever.
You're one of them. You're slowly becoming one
I know.
of them.
I think we've swapped now. I'm now from Queensland.
Yeah. What are you sort of looking at here? A tight game, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, it's actually always been a 1-12 margin with the
Always?
highest. Well, yeah. Since Origin, I guess, since it became State of Origin, 1-12 always.
Fantastic.
With the average being 6 points and the highest ever score being 10-point difference. So I'm going 1-12, either team, Queensland, either team. And then for the anytime try scorer, Julia Robinson and Isabel Kelly.
Love that. I'm going to go, unfortunately, Queensland by 8. Yeah. And I'm going to go Upton first try scorer, and I think she gets player of the match too. Oh, yeah. What are you thinking, Catmandu? Got any hot tips for us?
Yeah, I mean, you've both said Queensland, so let's go New South Wales.
I like that.
But we'll keep it nice and tight. I'll say by 4.
Well, you almost got picked in the team today.
I know, I did get picked. So what do you mean almost? I did get picked. I turned it down. I said I've got other things that are.
She wants to focus on Clubland, sort out her bunnies.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
And I guess just in general to finish up, like to all of my audience as well, I'll hand over to you in a second, but come to the game with an open mind. It is exciting to watch. For me personally, and like I've brought it up 3 or 4 times, but seeing Brigginshaw go back to like Jersey 13, it reminds me of what the NRL was like in the 90s, where it was a lot more unstructured and it was a lot more, and I don't mean that in a negative, I mean that in the biggest positive of all time, that you would have guys like Jim Dimmick, Brad Fittler, these sort of guys that would just jump into the 13 jersey and just move the ball around. You're starting to see it come back into the NRL a little bit now, but I just love how it's just a little bit less scripted than what we see in the NRL, and every team has their own little flavour. I look at the NRL and quite often I think it's a copycat league. For years, everyone tried to be Melbourne. Now everyone's trying to be Penrith. I feel like when I watch the NRLW, each team is their own team and they're playing their own brand of footy, which I find super exciting.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, I just hope that, it obviously is something that's new to people. NRL fans that have been around for decades definitely come with an open mind. It's not going to be at the intensity that NRL is, because the progression has been different getting to this level. So just be ready to watch the same sport but in a different way. And these women have done incredible things to get themselves there, and it's only going to get better with the support that we can provide them just by watching and getting bums on seats and just turning on the telly. So that's super important.
You know what I'm excited for? Since last Origin, we had a whole Women's World Cup.
Yep.
And we saw that Australia is very capable of getting behind women's sport.
100%.
That they can see the entertainment factor. Yep. If you go in with an open mind and you don't expect it to be an exact replication of the men's game, expect it to be different. Expect that, if anything, I think what people loved about, you know, the Matildas versus the Socceroos is the sportsmanship and how these girls approach the game differently. And I think you see that in women's footy as well. And the best thing you can do is go in there with the same mentality, because history was made at Suncorp with the Matildas. And I think when Australia and when we get behind our women in sport, they just do a better job. 100%. They take in the excitement. The energy would be unreal in the stadium. I can't wait to be there to watch it and to get around the game more. But I think it has serious potential to be another one of these kind of monumental sporting moments during the year.
Yeah.
I can only talk from a personal point of view. Like, I got right behind the Matildas. I enjoyed it. But I could not believe the influence it had on the country.
Yeah.
It shocked me to my core. Yeah. It was like, I remember talking to you about it a few weeks before, and I sort of walked away from my conversation from Kat going, geez, I don't know if it's going to be that big. But it, I was just wrapped up in it.
Yeah. I mean, I was working on it, and I was working on it 100 days before the event actually kicked off. And even though I was talking about it and trying to build hype about it, I still did not expect it to have the impact that it had. Yeah. And I think that is context. It is the results that we saw. It was the talent that we saw, the attitude of the girls, all those things wrapped up. But what I love about NRLW is that there is a real synergy with the men's game. You see it even in terms of who's dating who, and I kind of love that stuff, because there is this really nice energy around the game, and I think it's so easy and accessible, and there's no reason why you wouldn't get around it and give it the same kind of love that you gave the Matildas last year.
Yeah, and on that note, for my Guru audience, make sure you go and follow Watch Her Footy on all your social medias, but also, if you're in the group chat with your mates and there's that one guy who's chipping the women's game for no apparent reason, call him out on it. It is a fantastic product. It has improved year on year on year, and it is only getting better. And I refuse to believe that any of you could sit and watch this Origin game and not enjoy it. I just refuse to believe it. Yeah. Like, I know that all my mates have got right around it, absolutely love it now. The NRLW is something that I can't watch it as close as I do with the NRL, because unfortunately there's only 24 hours in a day for me to consume so much football. But it is always something I keep track of and have a look at the highlights, and I'll sit down and happily watch a game when I can, not for work, just for enjoyment.
Yeah,
because it is a fantastic product now. So get behind the NRLW and please go and follow Watch Her Footy, doing fantastic things. Might put you in a little bit of an uncomfortable spot here, but you must be pretty proud of yourself where it's got to.
Yeah, I can't believe how quick it's grown. And I think I mentioned that the first time round when I was talking to you, and I think we were like at 8,000 followers or something.
Yeah.
Now we're at like 12.2, which is incredible. So it's been a lot of work that me and Alex have put into it, and I'm so proud of what we've achieved. And it's obviously needed, like the media, I guess, trying to promote Origin and trying to promote NRLW might not just be there yet at the level that it's needed. So these little pages that come up and become something like you and I guess me growing there, like it's needed. So the support is monumental and it's important.
Now, you mentioned Alex there. What's his role?
Alex is behind the scenes. He is my partner and he helps me. I guess I work full time, so he's got the day to kind of collate the information, the news, what we need to post, what I should get up and do videos on, and kind of helping the scheduling side and information side. And then it's me and my face and just trying to like make sure we get all that information out there, make sure I'm communicating with the followers and getting them what they want to hear.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
What's so far from your social media journey? What's been like the highlight for you out of this entire process?
I think, there's been a couple. I can't think, miss the fact that when I first started it and seeing those few players come through, Kennedy Charrington, Kiri Joseph, I was like, whoa, what the heck? And Ali Brigginshaw, that was so important to see that support from them, and that was incredible. And then I guess every milestone that we've hit, 5K, 10K, I was just like, wow, what the heck is happening? And then now it really has taken off. In the last 2 weeks, I've been doing an incredible amount of work with you, with players, with, the news, with so many different things that I've been able to have a little bit more of a, influence in, and to see that change and just doing it from my bedroom and then to having those opportunities is something you just dream of. So
Yeah, it's special, isn't it?
yeah, it really is.
100%. Well, you are always welcome here in the CBA Centre of Excellence, and I believe you got a couple of interviews. People might have already seen them by now, but coming up, so that is super exciting. And I just want to thank you for your time and coming in and for all you do for our game as well, because it is fantastic. And I'm so glad that someone has grabbed what was a white space that I think you saw, which was absolute genius. So thank you very much for coming in, and go to New South Wales.
Go Queensland.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website